Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, how are we getting on? Welcome to a brand new Fallout 76 video. So it is update day. Atlantic City is currently being deployed. So let's dive into the patch notes and have a look at some of the pretty darn cool features that will be coming later on today. Okay, yeah, so Atlantic City update is here at last after it was announced way back in the summer. It's, yeah, actually slightly sooner than I was expecting it, but very cool. Got a whole bunch of fun new stuff, some new locations, some cool new stuff to do there, and a couple of other changes to the base game that look pretty cool as well, and a bunch of bug fixes, at least one of which I'm really hyped for. So, let's get stuck in. Okay, so Atlantic City, Boardwalk Paradise. Pretty solid picture there. Definitely a strong start, giving the vibe. So, our latest update for Fallout 76 launches today, bringing with it a new area, new quests, NPCs, rewards, season, and much more. So, update highlights include Atlantic City, Boardwalk Paradise, the new location, Season 15, the big score, new starting loadouts feature, and a bunch of other early game improvements, which we can kind of expand on a little bit more, because it's not just early game stuff. A lot of it is, but it's not just. So, update version and sizes. As per, we've got a range of update sizes, though not as big as it sometimes gets, the differences. We've got at the smaller end, PlayStation seem to have the smallest update with 27.3 gigabytes, and at the larger end, it would seem to be, that's me actually, 36.8 on Steam. So, there we go, you're somewhere in between that on the other storefronts. It's a big jump actually up to Steam there. So yeah, quite a big update. Going to need a decent amount of space to install this one, so bear that one in mind. But yeah, there's quite a lot in it, so not terribly surprising, I suppose. Welcome to Atlantic City. So first up, welcome to Atlantic City. Try your luck at a casino, marvel at underwater sights, and enjoy endless entertainment on the boardwalk. This update brings a new area to Fallout 76, including new expeditions, enemy groups, and more. So, there will be 3 expeditions. There are 2 in this update and a third one coming in the next part 2 of Atlantic City update, which will likely be due in March. That's usually when the next update comes around following the December one. So, these new expeditions, the first 2, Tax Evasion and the Most Sensational Game. So, Tax Evasion, Billy Belt Buckles. The Mafia's accountant needs your help cooking the books. If you catch the drift, little smudge in the books here, little misplaced money over there, whatever you can do to avoid paying your dues to the showmen and the munis. Death and taxes wait for no one, and being terrified of conflict means that Billy will need your help on a regular basis. So basically, you'll be in the casino location. This time, rather than being a general place you can explore, which it is also, you will be able to, in this spot, just defending against other factions coming in, and presumably creatures as well, whilst Billy Beltbuckles reorganises the numbers a little bit. Fairly standard Mafia theme, makes sense. So, the Most Sensational Game is a completely different style, quite cool sounding expedition as well. Looking forward to trying that one out. Come on, come all to the Most Sensational Game. Step right up and see if you have what it takes to survive a deadly race against the infamous Batsuri twins. Navigate this perilous race carefully. Danger is around every corner, not only in the form of obstacles, but in your opponents as well. Survive until the finish line and be crowned the boardwalk's newest sensation. So we've got to get from point A to point B, avoiding a whole bundle of hazards along the way. Should be interesting. So yeah, I haven't checked these out yet. Definitely looking forward to doing so fairly soon. Expeditions are a weird thing. Obviously, they are what they are, and they're repeatable. And when they're new, that's great. It's a fun new thing to engage with. The interest doesn't last forever, so that, you know, what can you do? That's always the way it's going to be with repeatable content. I'm curious to see what new rewards are available. I'm guessing they'll be available for stamps from Giuseppe as per the pit expeditions. That would make sense as the simplest way of delivering those rewards, as well as the usual once a week you get an automatic reward at the end. So yeah, definitely looking forward to diving into these and seeing what's what. So, new locations. This is where we're getting quite exciting as well. The Neapolitan Casino is a location within the larger Atlantic City area, of course. You can try your luck at the casino, we play various games like Roulette and Lucky Dice, and hopefully win big. So that'll be interesting to explore and have a wander around. The Boardwalk is the home of the showmen. And it offers deadly entertainment and the famous underwater aquarium of the Atlantic. So I'm curious as to what the aquarium is going to look like, if it's just going to be a place you can have a look around, or if there'll be more going on there. We do know that there are a bunch of characters around it with sort of quests and things outside of the expeditions, stuff to do more than just the expeditions. So we've got these interesting locations to explore, there's people to go and help and engage with, and yeah, quite a bit going on in Atlantic City from the sound of things. More than really there was in the pit, because the pit is just the expeditions. So, I mean, it's cool, but this should take the idea and expand it to an even cooler level, which will be fun to explore. So, speaking of those new factions, we have 3. So, first up, the Showmen, performers and entertainers of all kinds who provide entertainment for the city. They're obsessed with self-actualization, whatever that means, and will go to dangerous or even fatal lengths to achieve it. Yeah, I suspect self-actualization in this context does not mean what it might mean in any other context. And I have no idea what it means in any other context either. It's a weird amorphous thing. There we go. The municipal government is faction number 2. These hard-working citizens keep the day-to-day of Atlantic City running, and they're not afraid to get their hands dirty to collect taxes. Well, I suppose keeping the city functional is not a cheap enterprise. Atlantic City seems to be in better nick than a lot of areas are, sort of in the relatively short post-war period that we're in for Fallout 76, 20 or so years afterwards. So that's pretty cool. They have power and they have water and things, but somebody's got to make sure that all continues to work, and that would be the municipal government, the munis. And yeah, they need funds to do that, so explains a lot there. The last faction is the Family. Based out of the Casino Quarter, these mobsters are in charge of vice, chems, and gambling in the city. So, all the fun stuff, as they say, so that's cool. So, we have new enemies as well, and I should say these are the main ones. There's at least one new enemy coming in the next update, whenever that arrives. I'm guessing there'll be more than one. We'll see. Suspect these are just going to be Atlantic City orientated as well. I don't think we'll be seeing these guys in Appalachia, but we'll see. I'd be surprised if that was the way it went, though. So, first up are the Overgrown. Chaotic and mysterious, these nature-based enemies have only one mission in mind: spread. So, from what I've seen of these, they seem to be some kind of weird mutated parasite, I suppose, emerging from the Pine Barrens, is that the wilderness areas around New Jersey? No expert here, but I'm stretching my memory back a bit. And they seem to take over existing creatures like ghouls and floaters and other things, and mind control them and use them as vehicles for chaos, basically. They also have a number of different effects and sort of combat techniques and strategies. The AI has been modified for these guys, so it should be quite interesting to see how that pans out. Should be fun. So the other enemy we have listed here is the Lesser Devil, a new predatory cryptid that hunts in packs and uses both powerful melee attacks and projectiles. That's going to be interesting. Somewhat like a hybrid Trog in terms of attack types, I suppose. As far as cryptid goes, you could say there's like 2 major categories. There's small cryptids, like say Snallygasters, and then there's the big ones, like the Sheepsquatch, for example, back in Appalachia. The Lesser Devil, it seems, goes more towards the Snallygaster route than it does towards the big Sheepsquatch route, because there will be a Jersey Devil big cryptid coming later on, so other side of this particular coin. But yeah, these things look kind of fun. I said in a video way back, they remind me ever so slightly of miniature Deathclaws from Fallout 3 era, in the way that they move and their spindliness and that sort of stuff. So they look pretty fun, and it should be interesting to face off against those guys. So, heading back to Appalachia, we've got a whole bunch of changes that are really quite cool. I'm looking forward to engaging with here. So, new and improved locations. Once quiet and peaceful forest region in Appalachia is starting to see more foot traffic of late, with factions moving in and taking over. So there's a bunch of changes that are going to be appearing here that are related to the forest, which is cool. It's getting a bit of a kind of refresh, I suppose, which has not really happened since a very long time back, probably 3+ years, 4 years maybe, when Morgantown Airport got a bit of an unannounced overhaul way back. I don't think Bethesda have ever actually addressed that overhaul, but it did get changed quite dramatically. Still, there's old school for you. So, new and improved locations. We have Gilman Lumber Mill, which we've heard about since the summer. There have been little changes planned for it. Those are finally coming in. The responders are taking over Gilman Lumbermill and setting up a new vendor, carrying items and plans, helpful for new adventurers. So Gilman Lumbermill, if you remember, is just down the hill from Vault 76. If you're following the direction that you are pointed in by the bots up there, you will head straight past it on your way down towards the Wayward and Flatwoods. Yeah, it's going to have a little bit more life to it, which ties into some of the other stuff going on in the early part of the game as well. So, faction-related stuff as well. We've added various new points of interest associated with different factions in the forest area, and a new daily quest in the region to help introduce you to them. Okay, so new daily quest and a whole bunch of new faction stuff. So there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff to keep us busy, I think, this evening. Should be fun. So, moving on to sort of more mechanical-based stuff. The weather control station, and camp builders in particular will be particularly enthusiastic about this, I think, including me, because there is a feature here that will be very, very useful from a video making standpoint, and I am definitely happy about that. It's going to be quite convenient. So the weather control station, in case you missed it, we've added weather control stations for camps. When the weather control station is placed, it will change the weather within the radius of your camp. Players who visit your camp will also see the weather, so it's perfect for photo ops and added ambiance. To use it, simply place the item in your camp and power it on, and watch the weather change before your eyes. I'm curious how the transition is going to work from outside to inside, but yeah. In short, the way these are basically going to work, to clarify it a little bit here, is that you will place a specific item for the specific weather effect you want. I had kind of hoped it was a single item and you changed it at a terminal, but in this case, in some ways it's actually probably simpler this way. You have a different item depending on the weather, which means they can sort of distribute the different weather types over a longer period of time as well, which you can feel about that whatever way you like, but that's going to be, it gives you something more to work towards, particularly for a camp builder as well. So more reason to play over an extended period of time, or another reason to play over extended periods of time, which I think is the mindset behind that. So, you may be wondering how to get your hands on these weather control stations. You can get them from the Atomic Shop and through the Season 15 scoreboard. It doesn't say this, but it does mean so far. So, right now, the weather control station for clear weather, which is the one I'm most enthusiastic to have as a camp builder and video maker of camp videos, is going to be available for free in the Atomic Shop when the servers come back up. So yeah, just grab that for free through the usual distribution mechanism, which is the Atomic Shop in this case. So that's cool. Yeah, having clear weather for me, as somebody who films tours of my finished camps and stuff. Was one went up yesterday. If you haven't seen it, do check it out. That's really, really handy. It makes it a lot easier. I don't have to faff around with... I mean, I'll be faffing around with private worlds, but I won't have to load in, find out that it's raining, load out, give it a couple of minutes while the whole world is unloaded from the servers, and then load back in and rebuild it over and over again until I finally get the clear weather I want. I'll just be able to drop this one item and guarantee clear weather, which is definitely going to make my life considerably easier. Make taking pictures easier as well for thumbnails. So the other one that's coming at the moment is Atlantic City Boardwalk weather, which we will be earning from the Season 15 scoreboard. So that is a fair way along the scoreboard, to be fair. The last third or quarter or so, I think. I can't remember exactly, but if you do want to check that one out, link somewhere up here as well to a video with all the rewards from the upcoming season, if you want to check those out. Yeah, some good stuff in there. My feelings on the season, incidentally, which we're just about to move into more of, it looks quite cool. Not the best we've ever had, not by a margin, to be honest, but it's also way better than some of the weaker ones we've had, so I'd say it's decent, is where I'd say it lands for me. There's good stuff, there's cool stuff I'm looking forward to having. I'm not crazy hyped, but it's solid. So, yeah, I'm okay with that, I think. So yes, speaking of it, Season 15, big score, starts with the update as well. A whole load of rewards. It's themed around casino stuff and Atlantic City, as you would expect for this kind of update. And there's a whole bunch of different rewards and stuff. A couple of them listed here, including camp items and power armor paints and weapon skins as well. And yeah, if you want to have a look in more details, as I say, check out that video. So, additional design changes and improvements. There's some cool stuff in here. So backpacks. When leaving the vault, players will be granted a new Vault Tech Survival Backpack. So you will start out with a backpack. The recipe small backpack has been moved from the Overseer's cache in Morgantown to a cache at the Overseer's camp near the Wayward. I don't quite know how this works. There's a number of features here that I've not really played around with too much because they are geared at brand new characters or new players as well. My hunch here is that the Vault Tech Survival Backpack is probably can't be reskinned. It might hold less stuff than even the small backpack, I don't know. but I don't know whether or not this is just the Vault-Tec Survivor one is a fixed skin, or if it's got different functionality, but nonetheless, you'll get one on the way out of the vault, and you'll be able to pick up another one when you get to the Overseer's camp, which is right next to the Wayward. So you'll be getting rapid upgrades on that one, which I mean, they weren't too far apart as it was, but yeah, you'll be getting them a lot more rapidly. So we have the new lumber mill vendor, June Sever? I don't know how you say that, Sever I would guess. But she sells the Vault-Tec Starter Backpack recipe. Okay, so if you want it on an existing character, you can head to the lumber mill and buy the recipe there and craft it. So maybe we'll check that one out later. So change to perks. Single rank perk cards will now appear in perk card packs, which apparently they weren't doing before, included in animated variant cards. So the posh shinies, basically. Which is fun. And they've adjusted the limit of perk card packs you can open at one time to 100. Interesting. That might make my life a bit easier, because I've got a whole bunch of those things that I've not been opening, because you had to do them one at a time. So if you can now do them all at once, I can open them up and work through that when I'm ready to, which probably won't be on stream, because that's probably not going to make for exciting footage, but at least I'll be able to clear out those perk card packs and won't have to deal with the fact that every time I go into that menu, the perk menu, it tells me I've got unopened packs, and I have to then clear that in that pop-up, which is slightly annoying. So at least I'll be able to solve that issue. That's cool. So a new quest tracker has been added to streamline quest tracking. It can be customized and disabled from the settings menu. Okay. We'll have to actually look at that one. There's an extensive quest tracker in there already that you can just turn on and off whatever you happen to want to track. I'm guessing this is more customizable. I'm curious. We'll have to dive into the game and see what's what with that later on, I guess. This is the first time I'm hearing about this, so I'm curious. There's not a lot of details there. Oh, well, I guess we'll find out soon, won't we? So, a whole bunch of additional changes. These are short and sweet, but some of them quite impactful. Level boost. Players can jump to level 20 upon exiting Vault 76. If you happen to be about to start your first ever playthrough of the game, and this is the first video you're watching, I'd be surprised, but anyway, if that's you, don't jump to level 20, you won't be doing yourself any favours. All the enemies will scale with you, and you're kind of jumping yourself straight into learning all the mechanics partway through, and it's going to dump a whole load more information on brand new players really quickly. So I wouldn't encourage newer players to do that. I'd say start at level 1, work your way up. You get to level 20 fast enough anyway, and it'll drip feed new systems and new things to learn and know about more steadily than if you jump the first 20 levels and then suddenly get them thrown at you all at once. Unless they've done some major work to improve how that is actually delivered, which doesn't seem to be the case. So, yeah. If you are familiar with the game and you want to jump on, well, technically it'll make your early game a little bit harder, and it'll also get you rolling along to a more complete character build that bit sooner as well. And if you're not that into going through the early game quests and stuff, because you've done it all before, you should be able to blast through it a little bit quicker that way. But, yeah. I think for new players, it's not such a great thing. For existing ones, maybe not so bad. Loadouts are another new feature for new characters. There are pre-made loadouts you can choose from when exiting Vault 76. They include weapons, munitions, resources, and more. So you get a pop-up, you can decide basically what type of character build you want to start out as, and you'll be provided a whole load of gear to use that will facilitate that playstyle that you want to go for. Obviously, you're not set in stone with doing that. As you level up, you'll be able to change and modify and swap things out as you go on, as you would always be able to do anyway. This just gives you more gear on exiting the vault. So really putting the final nail in the coffin of the survival tone of the game, but that's been more or less not a thing for a very long time anyway, so it is what it is. So we have an audio change where they've removed mentions of ultrasight battery cells from responder dialogues. So this is over in the Responders Refuge at the White Spring. We used to have to do daily quests in order to launch expeditions. That has not been the case for a little while now. You can just launch as many as you like straight away from the map menu. And yeah, the last remaining shreds of dialogue that refer to that have now been removed. So it was an interesting thing, but yeah, probably better without, I think. So, changes to crafting. Known expedition plans and recipes will no longer show as available for purchase in Giuseppe's shop. So yeah, expedition rewards coming through Giuseppe's shop in the White Spring Refuge. Now, if you know it, it won't show up in the list. Basically just tidies up his menu a little bit. The plans you already knew were, of course, already marked as known, but now it just takes them out altogether and makes things a bit neater and tidier. Makes sense. So, for consumables, they fix an inconsistent food buff stacking. This would basically be different food buffs that are interacting in weird ways depending on the order you happen to eat them. Now they should stack correctly whichever way around you go. And foods that grant melee damage buff effects have had their and costs have been adjusted, and 3 new light variant foods have been added to reflect this adjustment. So complex to cook meals that require more ingredients will do greater buffs, whereas simpler ones like just straight up meat on the fire jobs, those will be simpler, and there's new simpler ones because most of the melee buffing stuff was a bit more complicated, I'm guessing. I didn't use it too much. Not a big melee player, not a big buff player really either. Or not food buffs anyway. So yeah, it's just sort of rebalancing it and sort of adding a bit more nuance and hopefully clarity to that. So if you are a melee player who uses a lot of food buffs, then this is one for you. So they've added various balance changes to lower level enemies and creatures and adjusted the health values for various enemy groups that appear in events. That's very, very vague. I have a sneaking suspicion it's actually going to make things easier, not harder, because that usually is the way they go. We'll have to wait and see, but yeah, I mean, personally I think the game generally needs to get harder, so I'm somewhat cynical about whether or not this is going to be a good change, but we'll see, because it's pretty vague there. I guess we'll have to find out through playing. Another enemy change, they've adjusted the damage received by players from non-physical NPC weapons. So this is a good change, I think, and an interesting one. Basically affects damage and various other damage types, particularly like energy damage, but not ballistic damage, and not melee as well. One of the big obvious ones that's going to make a difference to, I hope, if they are reducing it, is the damage done by, say, Mr. Handies and their crazy flamethrowers that a while back got a weird disproportional buff, and a robot that's not supposed to be a combat model became one of the deadliest robots in the game. It was a weird change, but I'm guessing that has been brought back into a more sensible alignment now. Legendary creatures. This is a very cool one. This is a change that we've been crying out for since 76 launched, and it's finally arriving 5 years on. Legendary creatures will now always drop a legendary item of matching rank. So if you take out a 3-star legendary creature, you will always get a 3-star legendary item dropping. And equally, if you take out a 1-star, you'll get a 1-star drop, which is great. It means that when you take out a 3-star, you're more likely to get something worth having. It's just a nice consistency thing. I don't think it's a big game changer, given that the legendary crafting system is in the game, and most legendary item drops are going to end up in the script machine anyway. So yeah, I don't think it's that big of a game changer, but knowing what you're going to get is definitely worthwhile. Definitely it reduces the disappointment when you get a 1-star dropping from a 3-star enemy. So cool. Changes to vendors. They've added an ammo and medical machine at the White Spring Mall. Just a little thing. And we've added donation boxes at other locations with free fast travel. So right now there is a donation box outside of Vault 76, a free fast travel location, incidentally, the first one, wherein you can drop stuff you don't need in for other players to help themselves to. The idea being to help out low-level beginning players, primarily, but whoever happens to need. They've now added presumably 3 more, unless there's somewhere I'm forgetting, at the free fast travel locations, which basically covers the 3 faction camps, settlements, headquarters, which is Foundation, Fort Atlas, and the Crater. So there'll be donation boxes there. I've got a sneaking suspicion in my head that I'm forgetting another free fast travel location. I'm sure there is one, but I'm forgetting what it is right now. So I'm guessing we'll find one there as well. And a change to the world as well, in that random, rare, legendary creatures can now spawn in the forest region. There's a tongue twister. Try saying that 3 times quick. But yes, rare legendaries wandering around the forest where they did not tend to before, to make the potential for interesting encounters a little bit higher in various spots in the forest. So that region is definitely getting a bit of a flavour overhaul. It should become a new, more interesting zone to spend time in now, which is cool, especially for sort of later level players, but for everybody, I think, which is great. So, on to bug fixes and improvements. We're nearly there. So, as I usually do, I'm just going to cherry pick my favourite things from this that stand out the most to me, because it's a fairly long list. These videos are more than long enough. And yeah, let's crack on. If you do want to check out the whole list yourself, generally do recommend doing that, then as always, link to the patch notes will be in the description if you want to check it out. So, prefabs, here's a camp one, I'm always interested in those. We've increased the build limit so that players can build both Pittsburgh Palace and the Hunter's Lodge in the camp at the same time. By build limit, it means here not the budget, it means the number of items that you can actually build. So you could presumably they were sharing a number of items. If you had one, you couldn't have the other as well. Now they are separated, that's what it's saying. These being prefabs, so yeah. Not actually increasing the size of the amount of stuff that you can build in your camp, just how many instances of a single item. Updated the description of the inspirational perk to specify that you need to be in a party with other players. Okay. Herd mentality debuff now displays correctly when not in a group. And they fixed the mine skin not appearing properly on ultrasight Gatling lasers. It's a pretty ugly grey and white skin anyway. I can't say I'm a big fan. Nuclear winter plans. The replica Grognet's axe, mounted headbands, and other previously earned nuclear winter reward paints and skins can now be crafted again. For some reason they were not. You can now have them back, assuming you had earned them back when nuclear winter was a thing. Don't know if this affects plans and skins and stuff dropping from other events, because a number of them were put into the base game when nuclear winter was sunset. But either way, if you've got them, you should be able to use them again, which is always nice. The scout arms can now be returned to standard after using miscellaneous mods to modify them. So if you want to take off your various effects or skins and stuff, you can actually return them to basic form, so that's cool. Throwing weapons can once again kill resilient enemies. Don't know if this includes grenades or not, but I suspect it's supposed to include things like throwing knives and what's the one you get from Meat Week? There are butcher's knives, is it, or something like that? That you can throw? There's something like that you get from Meat Week that probably is included as well. It may end up including grenades, but whether or not it actually does, we'll have to see. Statuses. Excel, irradiated and glowing blood packs no longer stack with themselves, so you can only have one set of these working at a time, you can't have multiples. Not surprised that got changed. Mole miner pails and holiday gifts will now grant contextual ammo. Apparently it was quite difficult to say. Good, they were, well, at least the mole miner pals, for the very least, were supposed to do that anyway, but obviously this has been improved and fixed and stuff, which is cool. Legendary mods, some good stuff here. Burning, electrified, frozen, and toxic legendary armor mods now stack to a total of 240 damage from 5 armor pieces, instead of just going straight to 100 total damage, irrespective of how many pieces you had. So it's less efficient, but you've got a higher ceiling for that damage output, which is cool. Fixed an issue with a 40% power attack damage not correctly yielding damage. So there's another legendary mod that should now be working as intended. Ooh, a couple of questings here that were worth noting. Fixed an issue that could cause the Safe and Sound event, which is one of the new public events, the one at the Middle Mountain pit stop in Savage Divide near the White Spring. So they fixed an issue that could cause that event to get stuck at the repair circuit breaker stage, which is early. So yeah, that's good. And with seismic activity down at Nuka World on Tour, they fixed an issue where the Ultrasight Titan can become invulnerable after destroying the crystals, which you have to do in order to make it vulnerable. So yeah, that would be a bit counterintuitive. Definitely a good change. Here is definitely my favourite of the bug fixes and improvements, and a strong contender for one of my favourite changes across the whole update. Definitely like this one. Don't think it quite hits favourite, but it's close. It's an animation change. They've added behaviour updates that allow players to self-stimpack while using a wind-up weapon that is charging down. Especially what that means, if you are using a minigun or a Gatling laser, for example, particularly the Ultrasight Gatling laser that I use, I'm thinking of here, it spins up in order to start firing, and then when you stop firing, it slows down again. Prior to this update, you could not stimpack while it was slowing down after you had stopped firing. Those two actions would not overlap. You had to wait and then stimpack, which meant if you were in a hurry to try and save your own life, you often ended up dead because you were just stuck waiting. In this particular case, this update will now mean that you can stop firing and stimpack straight away without having to wait a couple of seconds for your gun to just stop doing its thing. So that has been driving me bananas for absolutely ages, and I am so happy with this change. It's a little thing, but it's quality of life for people who are using miniguns and Gatling lasers can't be overstated, I think. I'm really, really happy about that. Very, very cool. So, legendary mod fix down here as well. They fixed an issue where some legendary mods wouldn't appear in legendary items acquired from ally quests. So there's allies that you can place at your camp. They'll send you off on quests to find legendary gear. Sometimes they were appearing as non-legendary items. That shouldn't be a problem anymore. Cool. Okay, so this is an interesting one. For those of you using laser guns and the like, which are quite fun and actually effective now, which is cool, because I've got one that I occasionally run around with for a change. Capacitor mods for the laser gun and ultrasight laser gun, which affect the rate of fire for non-automatic barrels, will now properly increase the rate of fire for those weapons when using automatic barrels. So, rate of fire affecting mods should now work as intended across the board, no matter whether you're using automatic or single fire versions of the weapon, as it applies to laser guns and ultrasight laser guns. That's cool. Descriptions of certain missile launcher mods are more accurate. A couple of perk stuffs. Fix some cases where turret-mounted laser weapons weren't triggering the electric absorption perk. Okay. Yeah, that's going to make you even more indestructible in power armor. Berry Mentat's highlight effect now extends with the Chem Fiend perk. That's cool. Fix an issue with where Grim Reaper Sprint would not trigger correctly with explosive weapons if you're using that. And a couple of not particularly interesting ones on the end there. So, there we go. Quite an extensive set of patch notes. Not quite as extensive a set of bug fixes as we often get. Not that it's short, but it's not as long as it sometimes is. On the whole, I've got to say, I am quite looking forward to trying out this update. There's some cool stuff on the Appalachia side, and the Atlantic City stuff obviously is going to be a really nice addition. There's some nice little fixes, quality of life updates, and things that are going to definitely make my life considerably cooler. There's a couple of things that have been mentioned in relation to the Atlantic City update that aren't present here, or aren't listed. Whether or not that means they're coming in the next one in probably March, or they are being shelved for the time being, I don't know. One of them had to do with using the photo mode camera in your camp. It was able to move more smoothly and supposedly pass through objects and stuff like that. So you can get more interesting kind of panning shots, particularly for those of us who make videos of our camps. That's supposed to be coming. It's not listed here, so I don't know if that's coming in March, as I say, or if it's been shelved for now because it's not working properly, but we'll have to wait and see, I guess. They have got 3 more months to get everything up and rolling the way they want to, I suppose, if anything isn't at this point. But yeah, all in all, there's a lot of stuff here that I'm looking forward to diving into. I think for at least this week we'll do an extra Fallout stream, which should be fun. And as of that, we'll probably drop back to once a week again, just so that I don't kind of drain the interest of stuff to engage with, you know, get through all the new stuff and make it boring too quickly, because that does tend to happen with repetitive stuff, so, or repeatable stuff, I should say, really. That's more what I meant. But yeah, all in all, I'm quite happy about this. So if you want to check out Season 15 rewards and stuff, do take a look at the video that's up here. A new camp build went up yesterday, did a really cool raider camp. You'll be able to check out at least a little bit of that in upcoming live streams, but also, yeah, the video on that one as well if you want to check it out. Tons of Starfield stuff on the go as well. Having a lot of fun playing that game, streaming it, and doing outpost builds and player home builds as well. Ton more of those to come as well. I've got an idea for what my next outpost edition in the next few days as well, so do keep it here for that one. As always, links down below for likes, subs, social media links, merch store, and channel memberships on that blue join button if you want to support the channel in any of those ways. I really, really appreciate. Notification bell as well if you want to keep up to date with what's going on. Massive thank you to everyone who has done that already. As I say, join us for live streams and keep here for more Fallout and Starfield content. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.